Just got word about 15 minutes ago that Emery Jones, LSU right tackle for the past 3 seasons, has declared for the NFL draft. Now, Brian Kelly took to the microphone a couple of weeks ago and said, we're going to get some guys back that, some of our key players that would have potential to move on. And you start to hear the rumors, question whether Mason Taylor's going to stay or go, question whether Garrett Nussmeier is going to stay or go, question whether Emery Jones would stay or go. And you started to kind of feel like, well, if Brian Kelly's saying that like in public, like they're going to get kind of a haul back here. Harold Perkins' name came up there as well. And Emery Jones was one of those who was strongly rumored, I suggested on the air right here, that he would come back for a final season on the LSU offensive line, whether that meant another year at right tackle, whether that meant moving down to guard where he may play in the NFL, whether that meant moving over to left tackle where Will Campbell's vacating. Maybe he would come back. Well, we just in the last 15 minutes found out that's not going to be the case. So you look at this LSU offensive line. Will Campbell started 38 games at LSU at left tackle. Emery Jones started 36 at right tackle. That's some back-of-the-napkin math. That is 74 starts between those two guys in 36 games over 3 seasons where they were your bookend tackles. Will Campbell, of course, started the Florida State game as a true freshman. Emery Jones did not start that game. He started the next week and never came out of the lineup. He missed 1 game last year against Army with an injury, but played the rest of the way. That is a massive amount of experience and talent to lose. You figure both of those guys are probably going to go in the top 50 picks of this NFL draft. LSU has not had an offensive tackle go in the first round in decades. So this is a historic movement into the draft, but it also leaves a massive hole on the ends of your offensive line. And oh, by the way, Miles Frazier and Garrett Dellinger are out of eligibility. So you now have to essentially overhaul your entire offensive line. DJ Chester struggled at center this year. I don't think that is far-fetched to say. That does not mean that a redshirt freshman cannot develop into an elite-level player. He's got a lot of talent, and he was good enough to be tossed into multiple games as a true freshman and to play this year and start every game at center as a redshirt freshman. That's, I think, a positive sign more than a negative. But it still leaves you in a position now as you move into next football season where you are missing 4 starters on your offensive line that have all started for 3 seasons at LSU. That is no small chore to replace. So let's look at what LSU has on the roster currently entering this bowl game. And I would suggest that Will Campbell, who has already announced he's not playing in the bowl game, I would suggest Emery Jones probably won't play in the bowl game. Garrett Dellinger is coming off of an injury. Brian Kelly said yesterday that he's going to be cleared. Whether or not he plays in that game, I don't know. And then does Miles Frazier want to play another game at LSU? Who knows? You could be playing this bowl game without 4/5 of your offensive line. More back-of-the-napkin math. This is all I can do. That's 80% of your offensive line that you're going to be probably without in this bowl game. So what does that look like? Well, I'm not certain, but I can start to take some guesses. Tyree Adams was the 6th offensive lineman on this group. And by the way, I'm not just trying to map out LSU's offensive line for the Baylor game. We're talking about what the program looks like in the Baylor game and much more importantly, beyond this Baylor game. Tyree Adams was the 6th offensive lineman. When they broke camp and went up to Vegas against Southern Cal, if any offensive lineman went down, Tyree Adams was going to go in. That includes DJ Chester at center. They would move Dellinger down to center, and Adams would have played guard. So no matter who went in, left tackle, left guard, right guard, center, no matter what, Tyree Adams was next up. We saw that enough times in camp to know that that was the case. I'm going to, for the time being, put him at left tackle. So you put Tyree Adams at left tackle. DJ Chester is your center. Paul Mabenga is your right guard. We've already seen that. And Weston Davis was working out at tackle, the 5-star true freshman, was working out at tackle. And anyone can play in this game without risking a red shirt. So, candidly, I didn't even go back to look at how many games guys have played because I know for sure the Baylor game's not going to hurt anybody from a red shirt perspective. So, right now, that is 4 pieces. Adams at left tackle, Chester at center, Mubenga at right guard, and Weston Davis at right tackle. Could they move Cohen Eccles to center and move DJ Chester out to guard? Sure. And that's kind of what I think this may look like. Ethan Callaway is in the program, was a former 4-star recruit. Ori Williams was a 4-star recruit. Kyrie Lee was a 4-star recruit. Bo Bordelon's been in the program a little bit longer, and he's dressed out at tight end, so they do trust him to go in the game. But that's kind of what you're looking like on this offensive line. Those are really all your bodies. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys on the offensive line. You're thin and have no experience. Mubenga has started a couple of games. Chester started a season's worth. Nobody else has started a football game. So you're severely compromised in this Baylor game, but I'm more concerned with what this means moving forward. And now I look at this, and I had offensive tackle as a top 5 need. I did a segment on that last week, and I had it, I believe, 3rd. It moves up significantly here. You still got to have wide receivers, and you still certainly got to get defensive end help, but you have to find probably, this sounds like a lot, probably 2 good starters on the offensive line that LSU needs. I had kind of mentally, and this is not based on any information, this is just kind of based on the rumor mill, and then Brian Kelly saying that folks are coming back. Maybe he was just talking about Nussmeier, and perhaps Perkins comes back, and those are the ones he's talking about. I don't know. But when he said that some more guys were coming back than you probably thought, I was going to Nussmeier, I was going to Perkins, and I was really going to Emery Jones as well. I thought he was going to come back, and now he's not. Now, they may have known that, and they're working hard in the transfer portal, but Brad Davis has brought in terms of numbers and star ratings, and honestly body types, because you go out there and you understand what Brian Kelly has done in his career on the offensive line. All the guys he churned into the NFL from Notre Dame with the Zach Martins and Mike McGlincheys. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. They've had just an incredible run of offensive linemen from Notre Dame going into the NFL. And you look at LSU, and he immediately has Will Campbell and Emery Jones, and you're going, okay, this guy really knows what he's doing on the offensive line. And so you go out there to spring ball and into fall camp, and you see all these offensive linemen, and there's a profile that Brian Kelly recruits to. He talked about this the first day he was on the job. He wants long, lean guys that are pretty athletic and grow into their frame. And you look at Will Campbell and Emery Jones, and you're like, okay, that checks out. And then they got Garrett Dellinger and developed him, and they brought Miles Frazier along as well. And I think all of those guys are going to be NFL draft picks. But they've got to restock this offensive line, and you're going to do it from a group of very, very unproven guys who had a lot of stars next to their name but haven't played at all. I need a 22-year-old left guard. I need a left tackle that has played in the ACC or the Big 12 that you can plug in and play. That's a non-negotiable at this point. LSU cannot go to Clemson next year, in my opinion, with an offensive line that has Tyree Adams at left tackle, DJ Chester at left guard, Cohen Eccles at center, Paul Mubenga at right guard, and Weston Davis at right tackle. That, to me, is a recipe for disaster early in the season in a loud environment. Like, they're all talented. Weston Davis was a 5-star. Paul Mubenga, 4-star. Cohen Eccles, 4-star. DJ Chester, 4-star. Tyree Adams, 4-star. Like, they're talented dudes, and they're big and tall and long and lean, but they haven't played. I need guys that have played. This is not an era anymore that you can depend on redshirt freshmen to go in there and be dudes. Like, you don't have to do that anymore. You go to the portal, you make it happen. And I'm assuming that Will Campbell made a nice chunk of change this year. I'm assuming Emery Jones made some cash this year. You free that up. You've got to move on and go get some guys. I don't know what the future holds for Ethan Callaway or Ori Williams or Kyrie Lee or Bo Bordelon, and I don't mean to dismiss that totally. And LSU's got a couple really good offensive linemen in this signing class. But again, I don't necessarily want to go throwing true freshmen right into the fire. They're on the road at Clemson. So tough news for LSU from the outside looking at that. Maybe LSU knew this all along. Maybe this was a decision that Emery Jones just made based on negotiations with LSU's collective. I have no way of knowing. What I do know is that you now look at an offensive line that has 12 DJ Chester starts and 2 Paul Mubenga starts. That's 14 total, and your tackles just walked out with over 70. So it's a dire situation in terms of experience for LSU at offensive line, and it must be addressed in the transfer portal quickly. And I'm using some strong terms, and perhaps 4 years from now when I do this segment, having 4 more years of data points, I won't feel the same way because I just know, hey, you retool the whole roster in December and January every year anyway. And maybe that'll be commonplace at that point. It's not right now, so it's a little bit unsettling to look at LSU's depth chart on the offensive line and understand where things stand right now after watching what we had watched last year. It's daunting, but Emery Jones headed to the National Football League. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.